I like that music.
I know. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Fempreneur True Confessions podcast.
Hi, everyone. I'm Laura. I am, or Oda, the other owner of ODAA, and we're here to help women in business really thrive in their business and get the support that they need to make sure that they succeed and get what they need to help them behind the scenes, to get the work done, to take some stress and some chaos off of their minds, off of their business, and really have them doing what they're
You're a
super.
wife. You're a work wife.
Work.
We need wives.
Yeah.
And that's what Laura does, and that's what I do on on a higher level. But
Yeah.
I'm Angelique. I'm with Lady Powerhouse Solutions. Laura and I really do similar things. You'd think that we were competitors, but we're not. We're collaborators. We work together, support each other. We work for each other, with each other. And that's what we're trying to promote here with the podcast, and also create a community where women understand that they're not alone, that the mistakes that you're making, there are other people making. And so let's share that information.
Absolutely.
Instead of hiding the fact that we made a mistake, let's celebrate it, because it's just feedback, right? And if we just shared it, then somebody else wouldn't be having to make the same mistake again. So that's what we're all about.
Absolutely. We're super excited. And today we have some amazing guests with us. Now, I've been waiting for this and I got a little bit excited last week and was like, yes. So we do have the two amazing women with us. So I'm going to introduce them. The Empower Women Alliance mission is here to inspire all women to be authentically self-expressed and unapologetically powerful. So here we have Rhonda and Deb, and they are the Empowering Women Alliance mission. An extraordinary leader, Rhonda is an empowering coach, dynamic public speaker, and code breaker, technologies trainer as well. Her coaching business leads women to their own greatness, break through their personal glass ceilings, and claim 6 to 7 figure incomes in addition. Rhonda continues coaching within the landmark worldwide community as well. And then Deb, the founder and let me try that again. The founder of Purpose and Possibility Coaching.
You can do it.
I know, it's all the P's. Coaching. Deb also created its online courses. She writes fiction and nonfiction and guides others to discover and develop their own empowering stories. She has been co-founder and owner of a marketing and promotions event business for 26 years and co-founder of the largest quantum physics study group and speaker series in America. Welcome, ladies. Really? I was like, she said, biggest quantum physics. I'm like, okay, I'm in it. Who's she?
Yeah. So, really quickly, Deb, you've got 26 years. I've probably got, I know I've got over 20 years experience. Laura, what about you? So that's 46.
Yeah.
Rhonda?
46, 30.
Oh, well over 30.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's 76. So we're looking at close to a century's worth of experience in let's call it in the room, at the table. Mm-hmm. And that's nothing to laugh at. So ladies, thank you so much for being here.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having us.
And I am super excited to be talking about this.
It's an honor.
Empowering Women Alliance, because I'm all about it. Let's get them women on the stage, right?
Very good. That's right.
So tell us, that's what I'm most curious about, because I would love to start a nonprofit and I've got all kinds of ideas, but are you a nonprofit, and how did you get started and why?
We are for profit. And we will be creating a nonprofit foundation to be able to offer scholarships and other opportunities for women. But right now we are for profit. Mm-hmm. And we got started because one day, well, actually more than one day, many people were telling Rhonda, you ought to write a book. You ought to write a book about your experiences of being a woman in a man's world, going toe to toe with the men and, living to tell the tale. So take it away, Rhonda. What happened next?
Yeah, well, I was in a program and I had somebody tell me, You know what? It's really about creating something out in the world that you need to create a team around it, right? And I was like, I have no clue. Like, I have no access to what it is I'm going to do. And consequently, my coach at the time had heard several of my stories, my conversations that I have shared with the group. And she said, Rhonda, you need to write a book. I'm like, get out of here. Like, I am too young to write a book, and I don't have the, like, not at all. So to make a long story short, I called my very good friend and wonderful storyteller, Deb Anderson, and I said, guess what I'm going to do? And then of course, she would never guess that I was going to write a book. And so I shared it with her, and she was like, oh my God, Rhonda, you know so many women. You could create a collaborative book, and how awesome would that be? And I'm like, that's all I needed to hear. And we got started. Here we are.
She knew just what to say.
Yeah, Rhonda talked to a few of her friends. I talked to a few of my friends, and then they in turn to talk to their friends. And before we knew it, we had a whole group of women that came together online, and at the beginning of COVID. So we were able to meet once a week, and we started by having conversations. We shared our stories with one another. And it come to find out that almost all of us had had some kind of an issue, a problem, a setback, a complaint, something that had almost derailed us in our lives. And yet we had found a way through it. So all of us also had to reinvent ourselves. So that became the kernel of each one of our stories. And we started telling the bare bones. You know, you talk about stripping it down to the ugly parts of our stories. We bared it all because we decided we couldn't pretty it up. We had to let people know what was really going on, because how could we be of service to one another and to other women if we hid anything?
Yes.
And then we discovered how much courage you had to have to be that vulnerable. And one by one, each one of us was able to get our story out onto paper, but we didn't stop there. We reviewed one another's work rather than critiquing. Critiquing can really shut people down. But if you can find the gift in what somebody is sharing with you and let them know how what they're saying is making a real difference to you, then that encourages them to give you more. And that's what happened in this writing process. By the time we were finished, we were blown away.
Yeah.
We had
I have to add, Deb, right? When we first started, right, we started with a core group, and then we had some ladies kind of join us just a little bit late, and they, you know, really kind of came to the party like, what are we writing about? Like, what's the topic? Like, they really kind of had it all figured out. We were like, well, shit, we don't have anything figured out. Like, what, you know, it's just going to happen. Right. And amazingly,
we made it up as we went along.
Yeah. And amazingly so, when we talk about, you know, where in our lives did we lose our voices, right? When we talk about what comes up are those events that Deb was pointing out, right? The different events that happen in our life. And so really everybody just kind of spoke about them. And at the end of the book, you know, a couple of years later, like, we could see like a thread through all of the chapters that united us all. It was,
and I'm gonna take a leap
almost
of faith
eerie
here.
And it's
Yep. That the majority of these stories and these transformations that women made, these weren't fun or happy things that happened. They were probably pretty hard. Some of them might have been traumatic.
Yes.
And, you know, and that's the sad truth, right? The sad truth is that typically we don't make positive change in our life unless something goes wrong.
Right.
A lot of the time that is true. But we found that by sharing our very personal and intimate stories that seem so small in comparison, they actually had universal appeal because virtually everyone could identify with it.
Absolutely.
Who hasn't had some kind of an issue or strife in their life?
Mhm.
Who hasn't had some kind of a setback or something that just stopped them in their tracks? And so we had hoped that by telling our stories, we would encourage other women to also tell their stories and to be heartened to know that there is a way through. And one of the ways that a lot of us found the way through was by leaning on one another. Women collaborate, women share, women boost one another up. When you have an opportunity to share with another woman and be very real and very vulnerable, that's an opportunity for that burden to be shared as well. It is magic.
Yeah.
By the
Magic.
time we were done, we took our manuscript and we shopped it to 12 publishers and we got 10 offers.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Oh, it's right. Yes. So we found a publisher who said, "What else have you got?" And by then we realized we were onto something because other women heard about what we were doing and were very sorry that they hadn't gotten in right away. And they said, "Can you do this again?" And we said, "Yes, we can." And so we launched the second book, which is just about finished and will be going to the publisher at the end of this month. And now we have 33 women in waiting in the wings for book 3.
Awesome.
So we have a whole series of these books because there are more and more of these stories to be told, and they are making a difference. If you do go to the Amazon site to check out the book, you can also check out the amazing reviews written by people who are reading this book. And something worth noting is that they're not all women that are reading these books.
That's
Men
awesome.
are reading them too because they want to find out how women really think, how they deal with things, and how they talk to one another.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the
Because-
massive feeling that comes out of when you do that group and that collaboration. Because I know I hear a lot of people go, "Well, I thought about it, but others have been through so much more, or others had know much more."
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, but at some point we have to think about it. My story is very unique to others as well and not typical. But that doesn't mean it doesn't resonate with someone. It doesn't mean that somebody doesn't need to hear it. And it doesn't have to be a book. It doesn't have to be shouted from the mountaintops if you're more quiet and reserved. It can be those little personal, intimate conversations that you're having with people just in general and giving them that safe place or knowing or being vulnerable yourself and saying, "Hey, this is what happened." And then they can start to be like, "Oh, my story might have something for someone." Like, and
Yeah.
I heard someone say one time that even if it just if your story,
Laura, you're so right.
she's from.
Rhonda's
sorry,
sister Blake.
Rhonda.
Go ahead.
Even if our story impacts one person, it matters.
Yes. Yeah. So I had no concept that I ever impacted anybody in the world. I walked around in a bubble that nobody wanted to hear what I had to say. And if it walked around constantly. Right. So when I got involved with training and development, and I actually started sharing because everybody else was sharing, and I felt the support and I felt the love when that started happening. And then I would go in the bathroom and these women would come up to me and they said, "Oh my God, I am so glad that you shared that. I have never told that to anybody."
That's powerful.
I mean, we have women in our books that have never spoken to anybody else. Now, mind you, there's still that thought like, "Oh my God," really, it happens towards the end of the book, Deb, where people go, "Oh, we're going to publish
Oh, wait
this."
a minute.
Yeah, like, we're going to publish this book. And what if so-and-so and so-and-so reads this book and what's going to happen. And, you know, that type of thing. And we actually have had some women in our reviews, and we say, look, we're here for other women, and they're not going to get vulnerable in their life until we get vulnerable in our life. And
We have to model it.
Yeah. One of the amazing things about our book is that there's no blame. There's no, this happened to me because them, blah, blah, blah. They were bad. They were any, you know, we all know that our parents and our everybody did you will hear that in the book.
What they had at the time.
Which, yes, right? Which promotes understanding that no matter what happens to you, you can still live a positive, happy, forgiving life with no matter what happens.
Yeah, our stories are not about placing blame, making other people wrong, playing the victim, saying poor me. Quite the opposite. You know, our stories are about that kind of introspection that can really make a real difference, not only in your life, but in somebody else's life when they see you going in and taking full responsibility for yourself, for your choices, for who you've chosen to be going forward.
That's when stories really resonate.
Yes. And that's what I mean about reinventing ourselves, that we all, at whatever points in our lives or in our storytelling, we woke up and said, you know what? I'm not a victim. You know, I'm a powerful woman. I have found my voice by sharing this story. And then we realized we were onto something even bigger than just the 15 of us telling our stories or the 12 of us in the next group. And that was that we needed to make sure that women everywhere had opportunities to find their voices. And what would that look like? What stands in the way of women finding their voice, speaking up, saying their truth? And when we started looking at that, we thought, well, how do we go about doing that? And just like starting the book, we didn't know how to go about it, but we started. And we started learning as we went along. And because we put that out there in the universe started delivering to us the right people that we needed to talk to, the books that we needed to read, the classes that we needed to take, so that we could create the Empowering Women Alliance, to have women aligned all over the world in also empowering other women to be authentic, authentically self-expressed and unapologetically powerful. Think about that for a moment.
Right.
Being unapologetically powerful. What does that mean to you, Laura?
Oh, that feels wonderful. That powerfulness, that, you know, and the unapologetically part. I think that for me, that's the big part, is the really getting to that. I love that feeling and that idea of that.
And and that's awesome. But I know women that struggle with grasping that concept. And because we've been raised to be small, to be quiet, to not be seen or heard. And for us to suddenly just flip a switch. No, it's not a switch. This is decades of conditioning.
Yeah.
And it took me a while, because my mom was just one of those people that just told me to be who I was and be damned if they don't like you.
Wow.
Then they're not your people.
Yeah.
And Wow is right. So how empowering that was. Now, did I still have issues? Yeah. Am I in my 50s and still figuring out who I am? Yeah. But how much, and that's why it gives me the empathy, the ability to empathize and sympathize with women that can't quite get it, that are my age and still are like, don't get it.
And it doesn't necessarily mean trauma or mean bad things or anything else. Like, there's plenty of people, we all have different childhoods and backgrounds and things like that. And some are very trauma based and others are not. And they still come together and realize that the stories can be similar. And the feelings and the things that they went through can still be similar. So it doesn't even have to be like we grew up in the same area or around the same kind of thing. You know, I grew up in an area where everybody was, but my mother was very different, you know, in how she was teaching us. So those stories, you know, just knowing that it doesn't have to be exact, it doesn't have to be the same, but there are so many different similarities in the experience itself. As a whole.
Exactly. There are things in our culture that all of us still have to deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And it's not something that just, like you were saying, happens overnight. You don't flip a switch, but there is a process that you can go through. And one of the things that we have learned is that we are all stronger if we surround ourselves with other women who are on the same journey with us. You know, we get that support, we get that reinforcement, we get that encouragement. And we look around and we see, oh my God, if Rhonda can be that powerful without trampling over other people,
Right.
if she
Yes.
stand up and say her truth and just allow it to be accepted or not, and it means absolutely nothing about her, I look at her as an example and think, I want more of that.
Yes.
You know, and so if we can have those conversations with other women and have them be surrounded by women who are also having those kinds of conversations and setting those examples, that's where I think the empowerment comes in. You know, it starts rubbing off on all of us.
And that's awesome. That's what we want. I mean, you look at the younger generation and I think, wow, they are what's the word? It's I can't exponential.
Hmm.
Though how far ahead they are at their age than I was at their age.
Yes.
I'm there
Yes.
now, but that took me 50 years. They're in their 20s, and I love that, and I think, what will their kids be like? How strong and independent and compassionate and empathetic will their children be? Not just their daughters, but the women that are raising boys now are raising boys differently. There are men now that are in their they're younger than me, unfortunately, that are getting it. You know, they're saying, that they're identifying as feminists because, it's about just owning both your feminine and your masculine power and not defining your gender or your role in society by that.
Yes.
Um,
Well, in our first book, our age range went from mid-20s to mid-70s. So we have the full range of
that's
feminine
awesome.
experience. And interestingly enough, it was the youngest and the oldest who were the latest to join our group. And they developed a friendship because, interestingly enough, what the youngest one was dealing with was what she was talking about, comparison culture,
Mm,
was one of the same things that the oldest was still dealing with in her 70s, comparing herself to other women at that age.
at that age.
And have I accomplished all the things that I wanted to accomplish? Was I the best mother? And am I the best grandmother that I can be? So that's what we meant about the universality of the experiences.
Yeah. We got an awesome comment here from Michelle Joy Del Rey. I think I just
Yep.
botched that, but
No, that's
um,
good.
congratulations on finding your voice and empowering one another to keep going. There's always more. And
There is always more to go, you said,
yes,
Always.
sister.
Always.
yes. So I can't believe we're 25 minutes in already. So I want to talk about so many things. So we've talked about how you got it started and why and what it's all about. Let's talk about a little bit more about how people can get involved and support you. If somebody wants to maybe be in the next book and write their story, or where are we headed? Where are you guys going? How can we support you?
We have a lot of things that are in the
Well,
works.
I'm going to share.
Go ahead.
You're good. Go.
Y'all are too cute waiting on each other.
I
All right,
know.
Rhonda, you go, then Deb.
Okay. So we have a couple of things, right? And I'm going to go. We're looking to create our book as an Audible, and we want the Audible to be individually done by the authors, like we all do our conversations with women that have production facilities, women that do this. What does it look like? Like, again, we don't know what it looks like, and and how to deliver that and how it comes together. And so that's one of the things that I'm going to put out there in this conversation is I would love to have conversations about what that looks like and how we can create it within the group. Our book and our authors, yeah, powerful. Now, Deb, you can go ahead next.
Well, one of the advantages to having an Audible book is that so many women are busy.
Yeah.
But if they had the book to listen to in their car on the way to work, when they were exercising at the gym, when they were doing laundry and folding it in their laundry room, it could make a huge difference just to listen to this in 15-minute or 30-minute segments, rather than having to pick up the book. The book is in ebook, paperback, and hardback, and it's available on Amazon. But yeah, that's one of the things that we've got going. But we have so many women involved who have their own businesses, their own coaching practices, who have created something of value in the world that we're going to be offering workshops pretty soon. And so if you join the Empowering Women Alliance and get that newsletter, you'll know about what's coming up. It's easy enough to go to our website and find, the information that you need. In addition to the books that we've been mentioning, we're probably going to be having some spin-off books. So we have other opportunities for women, to participate. We're going to be teaching some writing classes. We've got a lot of things that are going to be going on, and all under the umbrella of the Empowering Women Alliance.
Awesome.
So become a member. Go into
Yes.
empoweringwomenalliance.com. Click on the button that says join now. It is you up on everything that we've got going on and unfolding, because we want all of you involved. All of you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we'll have all the links for Empowering Women Alliance and how to connect with each of these ladies on social media, the website. There's a Facebook group. I had the honor of meeting Rhonda in person before she left the area that I'm in and moved to, where is it? South Carolina. And, yeah, if you, she's also on Alignable. That's how Rhonda and I met and connected, and how this all came about, right? At least the podcast, you guys coming on the podcast. And I was excited to hear about the Empowering Women Alliance, because it really aligns with what I wanted to do with a nonprofit as well. So I'm totally on board with you guys. We'll drop all the links for the book. Michelle wanted to know if you guys could share one of the entries from the book. If you guys have something prepared, that'd be fantastic. If not, I just encourage you to go buy the book.
And if you'd like to check it out first, if you go to Amazon and you click on the peek inside, you can read the intro, Rhonda's chapter, and you can get into the book enough that it's going to tease you, and you're going to want to read every single chapter that's in there.
Perfect. Love that.
I do remember talking to somebody at some point about audiobooks, because I've worked with several authors and helping them launch their book. Everybody wrote a book during COVID, right? So I will have to dig that information up and share it with you. But I love this idea of it also being produced by a female empowered company.
Very much so. And the publisher that we found is an employee-owned publishing company. So every employee is invested in the success of the books. And all of the people that we have talked to have been women in this company. And they caught the vision right away. They could see the need for it. They loved that this book was different. It wasn't just a how-to book. It was sharing personal stories in a way that women could glean how to do it themselves. But it was through the storytelling. It was through that raw vulnerability.
Yeah. And stories really are such a gateway to share. I mean, it's you're sharing, yes, but you're also connecting.
Yes.
There's a
Yeah.
connection that happens when you're telling someone a story. When specifically you're sharing your own. That doesn't happen when you go, just hang out and chit chat, right?
Right.
And
Right.
I think it is that a deeper level of vulnerability and honesty and transparency,
Mm-hmm.
that up until recently our society has been lacking,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
we're hungry for it.
Oh,
We
Right.
really are.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people, they want to share the glossy versions of their stories.
Right. Yeah.
They want to show how they turned out and how they're at the top of the heap or whatever. And we all have, successes in our lives too, but we make mistakes. We encounter problems along the way. We take wrong turns.
We
And
don't
when
have it all figured out.
Yes, and when we reveal that as well, our thinking process, you can see yourself in it when you can see a woman talking herself into something that isn't necessarily good for her, and then the consequences, and then how she gets herself back out of it again.
Yeah.
I know that Rhonda and I have both done that in business as well, being entrepreneurs, where we've made mistakes. We've had to learn our lessons the hard way. But that's another thing that we want to share. Why not share those lessons so that other women don't have to, knock around and learn them the hard way like we did?
Yeah.
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 When Angelique and I first met, we were in a group together, and when we were in that group, within that group, we kind of, when we met each other and stuff, it was supporting each other and being a part of that. But it was a group of women that were all doing somewhat of the same thing. So it was really hard at times to kind of figure out, who do you talk to? What are you doing? Like, it was, so we did find our people that really just, that we melded into and things like that. And Angelique was someone I connected to really quick, kind of latched on to her because I was like, okay, I feel like I can trust you. I really need, like, we need the support. So as we started talking about it, it was one of those things where it's like, I really want to talk to you, but you're supposed to be my direct competition, and I really need help. So how do I tell you this is what my business is? Can we help each other, support each other, and not have you completely screw me in the back end? Like,
Yeah. Because that, to be honest, that was also happening.
yeah,
Where you would be transparent and open and giving to someone, and they would kind of steal your stuff, steal your ideas, or it was, that backbiting, that cattiness that doesn't need
Yeah.
to be
Well, that's
happening.
what I was just going to say, right? The day of women clawing down the backs of other women is gone. I declare that it's gone.
Yes.
I declare that, when we work in we've had to work in the masculine world because that's how it's been created and that's all that was there. And that's fine. It's worked for many, many years. It's worked for many, many people. But I don't believe that it works for women. I believe it has us turn into the catty, clawing down people. And I know we get more accomplished when we collaborate and we share our stories and we do it together. Because there are plenty of clients for everybody to have and for us to eat very healthy and
Yes.
get very fat in our lives.
That abundance mindset, right? That there is more than
Absolutely.
enough to go around.
That's
Absolutely.
exactly right. I built my business, my 26 years business, on that premise of working in cooperation rather than in competition. And when
Yes.
I would have multiple teams in one city and somebody got sick with the flu and couldn't service an account, they could be assured that if they asked one of the other teams to take over it, that it would only be for that particular occurrence and that they wouldn't lose their client as a result because we had one another's backs.
Yeah.
And
That's right.
a lot of it has to do with the attitude that you set and the bar that you set and expecting people to rise to that bar, to have that expectation. And when Rhonda declares that the day of women having to, fight for a seat at the table are over because there are more than enough seats for everyone, I believe her. And that's the bar that we are setting with the
Yeah.
Empowering Women Alliance.
And I think another important point is that we've learned to build our own damn tables.
Yeah.
Yes, we
Yes.
have. Right?
Yes.
That
I don't
works
have
for
to
us.
sit at a man's table.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's the part, coming into that. What's your voice? You're speaking. Where's your truth? And it can be loud. You could scream your way out of it and be loud and forefront and come in, with all horns blaring. Or it can be super quiet, transition out, and your voice is there, your power is back, you're done in that trauma and things like that. So anywhere where you're losing your voice, you're being kind of squelched in any type of situation. And for me, it's always like, why did that not hit well? How come I didn't? What? Because whatever's crossing my mind right now should have came out my mouth.
Yeah.
And it's those moments, like, because I spent a lifetime learning how to censor myself, and now I'm like, screw it, I don't want to censor myself. Like, I really want to just say whatever it is that's on my mind. Not always a good thing. But but it's kind of that idea of we're all coming into that truth and realizing that when you hold back, when you don't say something, even if you can form it in a nice way, if it's not the time for a harsh moment, but if you can do that, you physically, that release of energy to not have that pent up like this for that moment, is that in itself is worth it, and just be like, okay, this is my truth. This is what I need to say. And we can argue about it later or not argue about it. We can have a discussion and never talk about it again. But
It's time for women to start creating, or continue, not start because we've already started, continue creating our business world. And what does our business world look like? And does it mean we have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go to bed at midnight and work every single minute and grind it out, right? Does it mean that? Or does it mean collaboration and really speaking and coming from our heart and nurturing and creating? And I say plugging into the internet and getting the positions and creating our businesses so that we can be the moms, we can be the wives, we can handle all of this stuff with grace and ease.
Yeah.
And we can include men. We're not about male bashing.
No.
We're not anti-male. We love men.
No.
And we think that women should be empowered.
Yeah. Rhonda doesn't love men. No, I'm kidding.
She loves her hubby. But it's the same thing. I feel bad for my husband. He came into our house as an all-women house and a lesbian mother and sister. There were never going to be men in the family outside of whoever I brought in, right? Like there was just not going to be men. And he handled himself well with these very strong, very opinionated kind of women. And he held his own with them and he was good. And it was just very interesting because that's part of what drew me to him, is like anyone who can handle someone in this situation with this strong of women with these opinions. And
he must have had a strong mother figure.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Very strong.
Yeah. Well, you guys have a fantastic offer coming up. It's a summit. And the best way, obviously, to get signed up for that is to get subscribe to their newsletter and stay in the know. What else can you tell us about it?
Yes.
The summit is going to be filled with a lot of opportunities. All of them are free on the summit. We're going to have people making presentations from their coaching practices, from their businesses, the things that they've learned. Some are going to be entrepreneurs. Some are going to be people who are dealing with the spiritual realm, others with the emotional realm. There's going to be something for everybody on there. And all of these women are women who have been involved in the book, And so they have
Oh,
had
fantastic.
their transformations and told their stories, but they have something else to share, and they want to share it with you. So if you go to our website, which is empoweringwomenalliance.com, and you sign up, you just click here to be included. Join the community, join now, whatever the button says. Go
It's
ahead and join.
free.
It's free. It's free. You're not going to be hounded. We're not one of those organizations that sends you all of these advertisements and pesters you with 14 million emails a day. But we do send out a weekly newsletter that you will want to read because it's always worthwhile. And it's always about being empowering, encouraging, inspiring, enlightening, or uplifting. That's our criteria right there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Mhm.
And so is the summit in person or strictly online?
Online.
Okay. Okay.
But we will.
I was going to say,
Yeah, we will.
awesome.
Eventually, we will be having some
Conjuring
live
up.
in person.
Yeah, we're conjuring up
Yeah.
some live stuff.
Yes.
We're conjuring up some live stuff here in Hernando County as well. And I love that you talk about the spiritual, the business side, the personal side, because in honesty, these things all need to be in alignment and balanced,
Amen.
I agree.
equal
Mhm.
parts, because we can't just work 24/7. We can't work 18 hours a day, 6 days a week. Long term, like I understand sometimes you got to push before a launch, things like that.
Mhm.
But,
Mhm.
and having time to take care of ourselves and
Mhm.
understanding one of our very first guests on the podcast last year, she put it this way, and I'll never forget it. She said, "You can have what's on the sides of my cup, but don't dip in my cup.
Mm.
That's for me. And if I'm not overflowing, then
Mm.
I don't have enough for anybody else." And I really
Wow.
liked that. That makes so much sense, you guys. It sounds selfish because
Yeah.
we've been conditioned to think that's selfish.
Yeah.
It's not selfish. That's
Mhm.
normal.
Mm-mm. Yeah. And then we can teach our men, right? We can teach our men how to fully live their life with their
Yes.
family and in the world, and not grind themselves out, because to do that, and we can teach them.
No.
Right.
Mm-mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Awesome. So, one of the things that we like to do on this podcast is have the current guest introduce the next guest. And next week's guest is Eugenia Oganova. And Deb, are you ready?
I am. I would love to introduce Eugenia Oganova. She's a business specialist and marketing energetics coach. That sounds interesting right there. With
Yes.
2 decades of experience, she's also a clairvoyant transition mentor, renowned internationally, and a self-made millionaire. Eugenia has been featured in Fox, NBC, CBS, USA Today, Brains, and in over 100 other publications. She specializes in empowering female coaches, personal transformation experts, and holistic professionals. Eugenia's unique approach combines masculine linear strategy with feminine non-linear energetics. Well, I look forward to that.
Yes. Yes. I'm sensing a theme for the year. Laura, are you
Yes,
sensing a
I am.
theme?
It's
Yeah.
funny because my word for the year is transformation. It's
That's
always
awesome.
gratitude. Last year was clarity, so I'm bringing that in with clarity, and then transformation. So it's very interesting.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
can't wait for next week.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys again for being with us and sharing your stories and the Women's Empowering Women Alliance, right?
Empowering Women Alliance.
All right. And for
Yeah.
our listeners, we would love to include you in everything that we are doing. So be sure to follow us and subscribe in all the places. And we will see you guys next week, Wednesday, 6:30 Eastern. And have a wonderful week. We'll see you guys next time.
And thank you guys. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.